The move is unprecedented. The biggest municipal bankruptcy in American history. A major U.S. city officially declaring it cannot pay its debts, estimated at $18 billion, or meet its basic obligations to its citizens.
This was a very difficult and painful decision, but if you look at it, there's no other viable option.
It represents the failure of nearly a month of negotiations between Detroit Emergency Manager Kevin Orr and the city's more than 100,000 creditors.
Detroit was once one of the proudest and most vibrant cities in America. There it is, home of the American automobile industry, gleaming skyscrapers, and one of those manufacturing engines that powered this nation. That is ancient history. Detroit is now a shell-shocked ruin of its former self. Run-down communities, rampant crime. It is, to those who visit and then tell the tale, an ugly place to be. But it may be a city on the rebound and might emerge from bankruptcy even stronger than before, and that is the dream. The nightmare will be those other major cities in America who need to learn a lesson from what went wrong and how it can happen to them. Welcome to MidPoint, the founder of Nastasi Partners and a restructuring attorney who can dissect the issues at hand. Ancela Nastasi joins us on MidPoint. Ancela, thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Ancela, is this indeed a primer that other cities have got to pay attention to and watch what happened in Detroit because there's so many others who are just sitting on the precipice right now? Okay, I think we're having some difficulties with her being able to hear me. Let's go ahead and see. I believe what happened is she might have turned down the volume, so she can't hear me. Let's go ahead and check. I want to give you some background here on what's happening in Detroit right now, but also in the other cities in America as well. There are 61 large U.S. cities have the same kind of retirement legacy costs, the same thing that sent Detroit into Chapter 9 bankruptcy this summer. 61 large U.S. cities. We're not just talking a few here. These cities have amassed almost $120 billion, billion with a B, in unfunded health care liabilities. Now, those of you who just need to make sure that we're speaking complete English here, and sometimes we get lost in some of these terminologies, the health care liabilities, legal promises to pay the health care benefits to municipal workers behind the employee contributions to finance those funds. Let's see if we have our audio taken care of right now. Ancela, I'm going to try one more time and ask you the question here about other cities, and is this not something that they need to pay attention to because it could be happening to them any day?
Absolutely. Is that coming through loud and clear now?
You're coming through a little bit better. We got a little echo, but go right ahead. We'll keep working with it.
Okay. Yes, it's really interesting because if you look since 2008, so let's take the last 6 years as sort of an indicator, there are only actually 13 municipalities that have filed since that time, and out of that 13, 5 cases were dismissed. So we're really only looking at a universe of 8 Chapter 9 filings, and with all the economic woes going on around the country, you scratch your head and you wonder why. There are a bunch of reasons, but the 3 primary reasons are, number one, a lot of states don't allow their municipalities to file bankruptcy, so it's part of the state law that you can't file. The other thing is that the bankruptcy code has a lot of different requirements to be eligible to file, and some municipalities frankly don't meet those requirements. And the third is, and Detroit may change this third reason, but the third is that there are a lot of really negative consequences to filing Chapter 9, so it's not just a walk, through a bed of roses or, some easy thing to do. It's a really difficult process. If we see Detroit as sort of a roadmap for other municipalities that are eligible, we may be getting more filings coming down the pike. But until Detroit, there were no really great examples of great success that could be achieved in Chapter 9.
Well, there's the number. Detroit is $18 billion in debt. Now, that's just that city alone. So if you look at that, and we realize, of course, that, sure, the Chapter 9 is not easy, but isn't it inevitable that there's going to have to be maybe even some changes in the bankruptcy proceedings themselves in order to make it easier for some of these cities to go there? Because otherwise, who's going to pay the bills?
I completely agree with you. And, it's very interesting because when Chapter 9 was first enacted, the view was, let's make this possible, but not a walk in the park, as I said. With the success of Detroit, and with Detroit sort of now the poster child for how to get it done, I anticipate maybe there will be an amendment to the bankruptcy code, that I'm not sure about, but I do anticipate that more municipalities who can file will now look at that third reason not to file, namely that it's got a negative connotation or there will be negative things that occur. They'll look at that and say, you know what, no, Detroit gave us a really powerful roadmap for how to get this done. And that's really one of the main important things that emerges from the city of Detroit. It says loud and clear, we were a city with a burgeoning debt load, unable to meet our obligations. We had crime. We didn't have, we had no hope here. And this Chapter 9 process has allowed Detroit to reduce its pension obligations, cut its bond debt by a significant amount, keep its artwork, make it street safe. It's a home run.
2 minutes or so that I have left here, though, isn't it fair to say that what happened in Detroit is certainly part of years, decades, generations of graft that went on? So maybe they're a little bit of an anomaly. Certainly there's other cities that I'm looking at here right now on these lists, cities such as Compton, California, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Irvington, New Jersey. These are cities that are all in trouble, but I don't think anybody had the absolute underlying seamy underbelly of graft that Detroit had.
That I really can't comment on, but you raised some really important cases. Compton's going on right now. Harrisburg was one of the ones that I mentioned earlier. Of the 13 that filed, 5 were dismissed. It was dismissed because it didn't meet the requirements to be eligible to file. There are other cases that we're aware of that may be coming down the pike. I don't want to say. And I agree with you, Detroit's a special case. And certainly the focus and the media attention that's been on that city and the legacy that it really serves in our country as this great place of manufacturing, etc. There's no other Detroit in this country, let's face it. But there are a lot of other cities around the country, as I said, that will look to Detroit as a little bit of hope, that if they do need to file, there is a way out of bankruptcy.
I got about 20 seconds here. Isn't it fair to say a lot of people are not going to receive their pensions? Bottom line.
It's actually not fair to say that. And relatively speaking, the pension cuts that were put upon the pensioners were small in comparison to the cuts that Detroit is asking some of the other creditors to take. So I think that the pensioners, yes, they were made to suffer, and it's a brand new area for the use of Chapter 9 to be able to cut pensions. That's another reason that municipalities around the country are looking at Detroit very closely. To the extent they have pension problems, Detroit serves as a very powerful roadmap for that purpose as well. But by and large, the pensioners got away with small cuts compared to the other creditors.
That's good to hear, and I'm glad you made that point. Ancela Nastasi, thank you so much for joining us. I hope next time we meet under better circumstances, not talking about bankruptcy.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Next hour, should there be a law that demands a specific movie be seen by kids? It's coming up.